got thrown off a little bit there, but hope you glad you're well. But another question, a question I had in my mind was, you brace yourself to play this character, Shoyo, and how do you find that inner voice? Like, how do you go through that process?
So for Hinata in particular, I feel like a lot of his character is based around like self improvement and wanting to do better for himself, as well as like bringing out the best in those around him. And I feel like that's kind of been my go to like mentality throughout trying to become an actor. I'm very much I'm not a very competitive person, so like I try to be as positive as I can, like with some of my peers in the industry, and I try to like bring up those around me and stuff. And I feel like Hinata kind of has that baseline uh character form. On the technical side of things, I feel like Hinata is honestly exactly in my wheelhouse in terms of just like pitch and tone and energy.
Hmm.
I feel not to like brag or anything, but I feel like one of my strongest suits is doing those like just high energy hyper voices, and I'm very much a tenor, so like I like to play in the tenor range for sure.
Oh, no, that's amazing. That's amazing. With the movie heavily emphasizing on teamwork and sportsmanship, how did the dynamics work with the voice acting team mirroring the dynamics of the characters in the show?
I'm sorry, I got distracted a little bit. There was like a loud thunder. Could you ask that again?
Oh no.
I wasn't sure if you heard that or not. That's why I made that face. What was the
No, no,
question
that's
again? I'm
fine. It's all
sorry.
right. So it, the movie heavily emphasizes on teamwork and sportsmanship.
Mhm.
So how did the dynamics work with the voice acting team and mirroring that same dynamic with the characters in the show?
Yes. So I feel like it was a very collaborative experience, especially with the director, because we were able to take scene by scene and really break down what we wanted to do with the scene, and maybe take lines here and there, make some tweaks here and there. And me having not been able to see the movie like my co-star Clint here
Hmm.
beforehand, I was very much reliant on the director to kind of give me that wider context. And I feel like it really was a team effort to get the movie as strong as it is, from what I've seen of it. Obviously, I haven't been able to see it yet. I'm going to be seeing it like 3 times this weekend, and I'm excited for that. Um but I feel like in that regard, it is very much like a team sport. We were on the same team trying to get out an amazing piece of cinema.
Right, yeah,
Oh no,
everyone
that's
is working
amazing.
working together really, really closely on stuff like that, and you really go back and forth with the director a lot, or even with the technician, the sound technician or whatever, but we don't get to work with the other actors as much. And so it's kind of like, I don't exactly know how to describe it, but you're putting yourself into the animation in a sense. So
That's
you're
right.
surrounded by these characters in your mind,
Mhm.
because you're in the place in your mind. So you don't feel like you're alone when you're recording. You don't feel like it's just you and the character. You feel like you're a part of the world.
Mhm.
You want to insert yourself into that space.
Of course.
No, because you guys, as you said, you're recording it and then you're trying to match it up, and you get the message back saying, "All right, we need you to pump up a little bit on this side." So it must be a surreal sort of experience to. Sometimes you are working with people, but then most of the time you're working by yourself to try and bring those characters to life.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
Clint, there was something I wanted to ask you about Kenmar. Was he's a very uh, has a calm and analytic personality. Like, how did you approach voicing such a distinctive character?
Well, the first thing when I saw him is that I thought he needed to have a smoothness to his
Mm.
performance. So I have to have a baseline smoothness to it because I don't really have that quality as much myself. And I like to go up and down a whole lot with performances, but I had to be very, very controlled with Kinma, and I wanted him to sound cute too, because he's adorable.
Mhm.
But in the movie in particular, I had to
Mm.
find ways to color that, because even though he doesn't yell a whole lot in the movie or anything like that, he does have an entire roller coaster of different emotions. And so I was fortunate to not only be able to watch the movie ahead of time, but also have a long time in between the fourth season and the movie to
Mm.
really, really think about how I'm going to do this and different ways that I might show all of these different subtle uh, feelings from Kenma. And so I was really, really fortunate that I had the time to sit on that and really play with it a lot. And really fortunate that I had a director that kept urging me to try different things. Oh, make it more sad here, or more soft,
Yeah.
or with a little anger, or a little regret, or this. And a lot of times we do one take after another, after another, after another, just to try to sort of jostle it a little bit to get all of these uh, tiny feelings out.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
Well,
must be. It's a lot of it's a process, isn't it?
Yes, yes, but it's
yeah.
so much fun, phenomenally fun.
And much like Kenma, Hinata does have his same baseline energy, but it
Hmm.
was also, especially for this film, trying to find those subtle nuances to where we can throw like, well, in this scene, Hinata's like obviously very baseline positive energy all the way throughout, but sometimes it can be like,
Yes, that's right.
oh, positive curious or positive nagging or like positive, just like it can vary and stuff like that, but like it is those subtle differences that really make it feel like we're fleshing out a character into something more three-dimensional and realistic,
Mm.
and that's what I love about getting to work on shows like this
An
and
amazing
movies.
experience. Yeah, and movies as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it has Haiku has a massive fan base,
Mhm.
and it's a lot of responsibility to take on, and it's a question for both of you when you jump on a project like this, knowing that the fan base is massive, but then your interaction with fans, what has that been like?
Um, I knew going into the series back in 2017 that it was a pretty big deal just because I was still going to college at the time, and I would be
Wow.
walking around like the theater performing arts building or something like that, and there would be like a guy watching Haikyu on his laptop in the lobby and stuff like that, and I'd be like, "Oh, that must be a pretty big show." One of my brothers actually had a Hinata wall scroll before we even did any of this stuff. He was super big into sports
Wow.
anime. And so when I got cast as Hinata, I texted him first. I was like, "Hey, guess what?" Like without breaking in, like once I was allowed to talk about it, I was like, "Hey, guess what?" And he goes, "No way, that's like my favorite character right now." And so that was exciting. My thing going into projects like that, where I know that it's going to be a big undertaking, is I try my best to make sure I'm giving a performance that I can be proud of, that also matches the intent of the original performance in the original direction, because I know that the reason that the show is as big as it is with the fan base prior to our involvement is because of
Hmm.
what was already put out there. And so I try my best to be as faithful to that as possible in my performances. And the amount of people that come up to me at conventions um and let me know just how much they loved our work on the show, and hopefully they can get the chance to check out the movie and see some of the amazing work that's been able to that's been put in by the cast and crew. Hopefully they can get a chance to check it out and really see that like we really put our all into this stuff, and we want to try to make sure that it's as good of an experience as possible. At least in my experience at conventions and interacting online, most people seem to be enjoying what we've done with the series.
I think Haikyu in particular was, from a fan perspective, especially challenging or especially stressful, because, like you
Hmm.
mentioned, it had been out in Japanese for quite a while, and it's
Hmm.
unusual for that to happen. Usually these days, the dubs follow. They're either at the same time or shortly afterwards, and so
That's right.
Haikyu not only had a massive fan base, it had a massive fan base of people who were very familiar with the Japanese, who had spent a lot of time with that. So I think it was a little daunting, um, because of that. And the English version is a little different. But I really, really love seeing people who love both. That's so exciting. And it's so, so cool. The one advantage to it coming out later is that people got to experience it all over again, and they got to see it in a new way. And so I hope people who watch the movie more than once, and I think if you watch it, you'll want to watch it more than once,
Yes.
will enjoy it in Japanese and English, whatever their preference is. Try both, because yeah, if you see it twice, watch both of them. I think that'll be a more rich experience.
Oh no, definitely. No, it was intense, fun, and full on when we did get to catch it. The other question was, and again, it goes to both of you. I mean, and this is really a geek out moment for me. It's like when you get to voice characters in a show like this and in a movie, and you see it for yourself. And I know, Bryson, you still need to catch it, but like, what is that? What is that feeling? What is that feeling? What is that feeling like? Like, bring you back to being a kid to see something like that.
I
Do you
mentioned
still have that
this.
moment?
I was gonna say
Yeah.
I had a similar experience back in, I think, 2019 when the Danmachi movie came out. Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon? Where it was my first time getting to experience like the big screen with all the fancy speakers and stuff. Like I'm in an audience, like watching a film that I was able to be a part of, and it was super exciting. And I can't wait to experience that again with this. And I will say that, like, even what little I have been able to see of it, just like the scenes that I worked on directly, like I am so proud of those moments that we were able to put out, that like even in the moment of recording, I was just like, this is like amazing. And again, this kind of stuff, like working on it, I was like, these kinds of shows, these kinds of characters, these kinds of scenes, like this is the reason I want to be an actor. Like it's very fulfilling to be able to work on this kind of stuff. And so yeah, if that answers your question, I am
Yeah.
super excited.
This one in particular is very exciting for me because I've been voice acting for like 20 years, and I've never had something in a theater before. And it's a big deal that Kenma has such a big part in this movie. But in terms of watching, I mean, that's really exciting. But in terms of watching myself, I'm extremely critical of my work. And so usually when I watch my work, I think, it's not
Could've
so
done that
great.
different.
Yeah, I could have done that better.
I'm the same way, so I get
And
it.
yeah, but the thing is, that's what really drives me and really, really makes me want to keep acting, because I want to make work that I don't regret. I want to make, well, regret is a strong word, but I want to make work that I can really, really look at proudly. And because I'm so picky, and because I hear every little thing about my own performances. There isn't a huge amount of work out there. I don't know, about a third of my work I'm fairly proud of. But this one I'm very proud of. And I'm really, really glad that for the first thing that I've had that's going in a theater for such an important series, I can say, no, I did not only the best I could, but better than I've done in the past. And I don't usually say that. So I'm very, very, very happy about how this one turned out.
You guys should be proud.
Yeah, I totally feel you on being like your own worst critic. I feel like the best creatives tend to always be their own worst critics, but I want to reassure you that I have been a fan of a lot of your work over the years, Clint. So as much as you might be internalizing it that way, like I kind of do the same thing with all my performances. Like you do amazing work, and I couldn't be happier to share this film with you.
Oh, I really appreciate that.